Okay, so we'll get started. Hi, good morning, and a warm welcome to you all. I'm Preeta D'Souza, Director, Community Relations and Development based in Mumbai. Thank you for joining us for our fifth episode of Indiaspora Tech Talk, which features technology trailblazers from the Indian diaspora around the world. Indiaspora, as you know, is a not for profit organization and a platform for the Indian diaspora to collaborate, build community engagement, catalyze social change, and be a force for good. Our episode today focuses on UAE, and our host today is Ravi Tharoor. Till recently, the CEO of Khaleej Times, Ravi has a unique blend of corporate and startup experiences globally. His exposure covers the entire business life cycle from build, growth, consolidation, and exit. His career covers multiple industries in various stages. Welcome, Ravi.
Thank you.
Our first guest today is Somdutta Singh. Somdutta is a first gen serial entrepreneur, angel investor, best selling author, and philanthropist. Her third and current entrepreneurial venture, Assiduus, a $1 billion revenue generating company, is a leading global middleware platform that empowers brands to accelerate their e commerce growth through optimized distribution and supply chain management. She's also committed to supporting women entrepreneurs and exclusively invests in funds and companies with at least one female partner. Our second guest is Gaurav Dhar. Gaurav is a seasoned leader in the fintech industry and currently serves as the group CEO of Marshal Fintech Partners in Dubai, where he has established himself as a pioneering force in the development of fintech ecosystems and solutions. Gaurav is also a passionate advocate for innovation in fintech, devoting his personal time to working with and investing directly in innovators who are shaping the future of the industry. So, this is going to be an interesting session. Over to you, Ravi.
Thanks, Preeta. Lovely introduction. Hi, everyone. This is the fifth
Hello,
episode
Ravi.
of Indiaspora. Hi, can you hear me?
Very well.
All right, okay. Hi, everyone. This is the fifth episode of Indiaspora Tech Talk from the magnificent city of Dubai. And I'm Ravi Tharoor. A little bit about me before I move on to our very interesting guest. I started my career in Japan and sort of moved westwards, moved to Singapore, did my first startup in Hong Kong, and then lived in Europe and went back to Hong Kong, and then another startup in Vancouver before I arrived in Dubai shows in 2008. I've done corporate restructuring, corporate turnaround. I've advised startups, and before Khaleej Times, I was in a food tech, logistics tech startup with family offices and an incubator. Without further ado, I'm going to move on to Shom. She can introduce herself. Shom.
Thank you so much, Ravi, and thank you to the entire Indiaspora team. And it's always fantastic to talk to such legends and share experiences. Hello, everyone. I am Somdutta Singh. I'm a first-gen serial entrepreneur. I started my career in US, built my first company in an ad tech and industry, and then exited it and got acquired at a very young age. Since then, have been running my family office, which has been investing directly into startups and funds. But as an entrepreneur, just like Ravi, I had the bug bit me again, and I started my range of own D2C brands, completely doing reverse engineering way back in 2013 and 14, selling on Amazon and Walmart in the US, and build these brands in health, Nutra, and beauty. Amplicel, Biotivia, Smart Vitamins, and many more, which still continue to be top sellers on these marketplaces. Little did I realize that when you can build very, very big, significant brands in these regions, when you try to get these brands outside the region, there is a lot of compliance, regulation, supply chain, and much more that comes in the way of growth. And that's where I realized that, this is not just a significant problem for me, it must be a significant problem for many, many other ventures and companies and enterprises who are looking to grow their businesses cross-border, but do not have the right set of tools as well as the methods and technology to do it. Thus founded Assiduus in 2018. We just turned 6 yesterday. And since then, we've become the third largest cross-border e-commerce distribution and supply chain company, completely enabled by tech. Founded the company out of US. Now we are servicing 20 countries, 12 marketplaces, plus D2C, which is Shopify, and many more. We become a single platform to enable brands to go global without losing control on pricing, inventory, data, and statistics. So what we have built is a middleware platform that actually enables large enterprises and SMEs to identify the potent new market to accelerate their brands, including their home geographies, in the most cost-efficient way. So reach your end consumers at the fastest route and the lowest cost. I'm currently based in UAE, a place I absolutely love, Dubai, which has been my home since 2019. And I would love to share more as we get deeper into the conversation about my experiences and learnings.
Thank you, Shom. Very interesting. Do we have Gaurav with us, Preeta?
Good morning, Ravi.
Good morning, Gaurav. It's good to see you virtually.
How are you, my friend?
Very well. How are you?
The usual, you know me, running around, getting a lot done as much as possible. Never a dull day, never a slow moment.
Good for you, Gaurav. So let's hear about you.
Well, you know, tough act to follow. What an impressive profile, Shom. It is. Congratulations on everything. So, I am a third generation entrepreneur out in the UAE. So I call myself an honorary Emirati. My family's been here for 51 years, 42 only for me. So don't get any ideas about my age being older than that. Let's cap it there. But essentially, the family has been the pioneer in payment technology for the entire Middle East and Africa region. We actually started payment technology digitally out 4 decades ago, if you believe it or not, Ravi. That was a thing back then. So taking the baton, if you'd like to put it that way, from the entrepreneurial bug my father had, I converted and transformed the family business into one that was acquired by a sovereign wealth fund about 5 years ago. They've retained me graciously as the group CEO at the moment, where I continue to grow the business internationally through acquisitions, inorganically and organically through new markets in international countries. But I had a lot of learnings along the way. 20 years as an entrepreneur. And operating in a family business environment is not easy, contrary to how easy people might think it is. But I took those lessons and learnings, and I have to say, I've always wanted to be a champion for other entrepreneurs. And I started my investment journey about 8 years ago. I'm currently at about 600 companies through my personal portfolio globally. A number of unicorns, including the first fintech unicorn out of the region, a number of fintech unicorns out of LATAM, Europe, the United States, Africa, globally. So I think, you know, there's only one continent out of 7 that I don't invest on. It's a bit too cold for me. Apart from that, I think I have a good number of people and friends who I work with. And all of this happened organically just through the love of entrepreneurship, through TIE, through some organizations like Indiaspora, through, you know, other groups of people like GCC Club. And we just met and it clicked, and I didn't have any ambitions to have such a large portfolio. It's just a wonderful community. The Middle East region was a wonderful connector and hub for entrepreneurs coming through from all over the world. So it's been an amazing journey. And apart from that, I do a number of things in boards and institutions, from sovereigns and advisory and family offices and banks, where I spend my time again as an advisor or a board member. So I'd have the entrepreneurial bug. I can't help myself, and I enjoy seeing other people successful alongside myself. And I like to be part of those stories and journeys. And apart from that, you know, my love for vintage cars, Ravi, but that's a different conversation altogether.
Yeah, true. I still remember your closing speech at BID Doha. That was a wonderful speech. All right, let's move on to, I'll start with Shom. I'll go on to my questions since we are running a bit short of time. Shom, tell us about your journey. How did you start your entrepreneurial journey? I'm always interested in knowing how did you think of your business concept? How did you plan? How did you start?
I think that's always an interesting question, especially if you're a first gen. And I come from a family of doctors, so you can understand a Bengali Brahmin doctor family where you're pretty much expected to follow the footstep of your parents because they've really worked hard to be where they are, and they don't want their daughter to go through the same ordeal. But that's also the Bengali genes. We love taking risk. We love trying to push the boundary, break the glass ceilings, and we grew up in a very matriarchal environment where women can do it all. And I saw it in my family that there were a lot of people who were trying to kind of make themselves a different mold than what was already set in stone. So the journey started when I was still in school in US, and I figured that wanting to create something of your own where you can be a job creator, not a job seeker, and be someone to actually create something that can stay long-term is a beautiful feeling, right? Means it's like having a baby. And that's how my journey started. While I was a student of economics, never did I imagine that I'm going to get into entrepreneurship. But I think the fundamentals of economics, if any econometric model is looked into, is the foundation of business, right? So pretty much you learn the science and art of managing demand and supply, and you also learn the models in which prediction happens to actually create new economies. So that's where I think the passion came from, but you marry the passion with the prudence. And at that time in 2010, AdTech was booming, and there was a lot of different shifts happening in the AdTech industry, but one area was pretty untapped, is using ad metrics to kind of, do smart penetration of ad automation. And that's what we, me and my co-founder started building. Within 2 years, we got acquired by Skeeple, which later, of course, became a part of larger enterprise. But that's where the passion of entrepreneurship came from. My parents for a long time thought I was crazy, to be very honest with you, right? It took them a long time to believe that this is a life that is worth living, it's sustainable, and I can make money. My mom actually said, how are you going to make money? Are you going to go door to door and sell things? I said, Ma, that's not just business, right? It's a part of business, which is very, very important. And I don't think there is anything wrong going door to door, knocking doors and selling things. I think it's extremely respectful, because we do that even now. Like, I still have to go and knock at the largest enterprise's door and say, hey, you know what? We can do a great job for you. So there's nothing wrong in doing things, and it's got nothing to do with how big or small it is. It is the integrity and the honesty with which you do it what makes the difference. So what started with, at 23, I kind of acquired, my company got acquired, and I figured that this is not it. And I made quite a few millions, and my mom finally said, oh my God, she knows how to make money. I'm like, wow, finally I have my mom's approval. And for a daughter, parents' approvals are very, very important. No matter how far we go away from it, is the truth. We want validation from our parents. It makes us very happy when they're proud of you. So that's how the journey started. With one success, you also have a lot of lessons. And I say, failure should be also as glorified as successes are. Because to me, failure is the first attempt in learning. That's what the word fail stands for me. Nobody learned how to walk the first time they started walking. You had to crawl, you had to stand up, fall a million times to learn how to walk. And I enjoy that. So there's something else, I tried, didn't work out, amazing. But the next thing worked out. The next thing worked out because I started investing in startups, because I felt the only way I can contribute back to this community is by also giving back and participating in the journey of others. So you don't just create for yourself, you create an economy by enabling others to create. So that's pretty much how the journey started. And now is the third venture, exited two, sold the second one as well at a much larger scale. But Assiduus has become way bigger than I thought, and that's where I'm sharing this journey is, one, no matter how much you glorify entrepreneurship, gender is still a very valid point, and we can dig deeper into it. But to me, entrepreneurship is an attitude. I don't see myself as a man or a woman. I just see myself as a business person who's here to create wealth for myself, my team, and others. Simple. While I do that with prudence. And I also do that with ensuring that I never compromise on the value systems, which is very, very important for me as well as for my team. But Assiduus today has become insanely big. I didn't anticipate for it to become how big it has become. What started with an experiment today is like $1 billion enterprise. And I've never seen a unicorn, so I don't like to call it a unicorn, but I'm going to say I always wanted to be like Ratan Tata. He's been my idol. From salt to soap, sell everything, because everything has a moat. Everything is a way of life. So Assiduus today sells from salt to soap, everything. We are one of the biggest partners, from Unilever to Reckitt to Red Bull to Dabur, Himalaya. If you're buying any of their products online in marketplaces, we are the backend that enables them to sell globally. So it's a great feeling. And it's a great juncture that we are in. I'm a solo woman founder. So it's an experience also to be an example for others like me and those who are listening to this today. All I'm going to say is that, take a risk in life. If you win, you lead. But if you fail, you guide. So whatever it is, there's always going to be a learning.
Thank you, Shom. On to Gaurav. Gaurav, can I ask you this? Are entrepreneurs born or are they manufactured?
No, it's quite funny. So, in some of the cases where I work with people who are aspiring entrepreneurs or want to understand what the entrepreneurship journey looks like from a glimpse from people who've got, the scars to try and fail and those journeys and experiences, I tell people, it's pretty interesting. You pretty much figure it out yourself pretty fast, whether you are fit for entrepreneurship or you are fit to work in a corporate structure. I think very few people make the transition from one side to another. And I think you are at your core either an entrepreneur or someone that is, happy to work in a 9 to 5. And on both sides, there's nothing wrong with that. But I think everything's a journey, and I think everything's a discovery and an experience. But Ravi, it all starts with honesty. It's great that people dream. It's wonderful that people have massive ideas and hopes and aspirations to disrupt, to change, to fix a problem which they're passionate about and have conviction on. But it's 7 years till you're an overnight success to be celebrated. So short-term goal seekers shouldn't actually, beware. And especially in this region where we operate, again, just looking at the number of investments and thesis from myself in terms of companies that make exits, right? We talk about entrepreneurship, we celebrate success, we talk in a muted fashion about failure. But one thing which everyone absolutely forgets is when you come to the MENA region, it is not the USA, it is not India, and it is not Europe. And you have to respect that. Otherwise, it'll bite you back very hard. And what do I mean by that? I mean that you have to come here and understand the regional mindset. You have to understand how to operate here and then grow perhaps internationally. But this region is extremely unique, and it's the same for exits. Certain businesses who are lucky will exit and generate returns for their investors in 5 years. And certain investors will get returns only after 10 to 12 years, because that's the way this ecosystem works in a fragmented manner. It's a fragmented ecosystem that you have to stitch together. And I talk about this because entrepreneurs should have the strength, the conviction, and the fortitude to weather the journey from a timeline perspective, not just from either you're an entrepreneur or a person that fits in a corporate infrastructure. So it's a great thing to know about people individually, but also very unique to this region, which is super interesting and very, very, very continues to grow.
So did you, Gaurav, a follow-up question. You watched your father and your grandfather building this business. Did that influence you to become an entrepreneur, or did you ever think of doing something else?
So my grandfather was a corporate man. So I'm third generation in the UAE, but I'm a second generation entrepreneur. So my father first started this business. He worked, before that, he was working for Unilever. He worked for Texas Instruments. And then he was jobless for, I think, about 2 years because he refused to work for somebody else because he understood he could not work for somebody else. So he knew himself, and it's a rare trait and quality. A lot of people are very happy to be chameleons and just fit in, but he stuck out like a sore thumb, and he paid a price for it. But in the long term, knowing yourself is the first point of conviction going forward, whether you're a career operator or you are an entrepreneur. And it was tough. We saw ups, we saw downs. And then taking the business as it was to where I had to take it, I tell you, my sister left the family business after 1.5 years. My brother left the business after 1.5 years. I've seen more people as the CEOs of banks in this industry and other places come and go. It's tough. It's tough, you know. And so when you look at people who say, oh, family businesses are cushy and interesting, I've seen people leave my family business, go on to join billion-dollar companies and be successful, but they've not been successful in running my family business. So you might be good in one place. So it's, you know, there's no blanket statement for entrepreneurship or corporate. It's just where you are as an individual, understanding who you are. So yes, my father was a tough teacher, threw me into the deep end. You know, I left from an international company, and the first thing he did was cut my salary in half as a welcome present to join the family business. Something I've never forgotten, or I've let him forget, Ravi. But apart from that, I've had offers to join some of Eric Schmidt's companies along the way that he founded in India that are unicorns today. And I stuck to the family business because for me as a primary, my family was more important than making larger money or a name for myself at that time. And it's paid off in its own way to me. So that was my mission statement. That was my personal journey. And yes, it did rub off on me. And I hope I can rub off and give people a lot of insights so that they don't make the same mistakes I did, or perhaps other people did with all the other investments I've made, or people who have kindly let me into their companies and entrepreneurial journeys.
Thank you, Gaurav. Lovely. Shom, who taught you, or who do you look up to when you think of entrepreneurship? I'm not talking about mentors. I mean, everybody has an idol who they look up to when you do something. Who's that for you?
You know, people look outward. In my own family, like Gaurav was saying, you know, entrepreneurship is small, subtle things. My grandmom was the first entrepreneur in our family, my mom's mom. And while she was a school teacher, she on the other side had her side hustle, right? She was an amazing sculptor, and she used to make these beautiful sculptures in her free time that she started selling to the neighbors, and even in her school, going to small exhibitions. And my granddad was an extremely erudite man, you know, then a Stanford grad, the director of Food Corporation of India, was a big supporter of hers. You know, I saw in my family this empathy, accountability, and action, which ultimately became the founding value principles of every company that I've started. It came from my grandparents. And not only just that, my granddad was such an empowered man. He was also you know, I learned music, so I'm a trained Hindustani classical singer. And Gaurav, Ravi, if you guys have time, I have a performance on the 21st in the Jumeirah International Auditorium. Yes, I do performance with Malhar. So one of the things that he taught is that you shouldn't let go of things that you're super passionate about just to pursue one thing. If you really want to be an entrepreneur, you got to be very wholesome, which means your left and your right brain has to be aligned. So one is your creative side, the other is your execution and the tactical side. But my grandmom on one side was using her creativity as a sculptor and then teaching, using that knowledge to kind of teach and pass on. But my granddad also encouraged her to pursue music. She was a very good singer, and she would do the small concerts. So, you know, there was different small ways that she was monetizing, and she was supporting not just herself, but she was enabling all of us, all her grandchildren, to idolize her, because we saw real empowerment happening in the family. And my granddad always said she doesn't need empowerment. You know, in our Rig Veda, there's a stotram, Ravi, that says Strihi Brahma Bahuvit Nava Bahuvit, means woman, you're already the ultimate source of enlightenment, thou enlighten us. My granddad used to say, to a woman, you should just enable her with knowledge, then leave her alone, she'll figure it out. So that's the power of the 2X chromosomes, right? So I saw entrepreneurship actually in my family. I saw empowerment in my family. So a lot of times when people, and I'm bringing this up because I'm sure there are a lot of women entrepreneurs who are listening, who are like, it's tough out there. 100%. There is no battle for equality here. It's not going to be there. You can't equate two different biological chromosomes. There is equity. That equity is earned, and that is earned in two ways. There's another thing I learned from my grandma. Don't build a business to raise money. That is a fallacy that doesn't last for long. Build a business for free cash flow. Dhanda and paisa, you need to see money. So Assiduus, one of the modus operandi we always had was we should be a client-funded company. That is sustainable, that is scalable. If you build that, then everything else flows after that. Then you don't have to go and make pitches. So I'm also someone who's heard a lot of no's from a lot of investors for reasons absolutely, ridiculous, but it's life. You hear no from your parents as well. You don't start questioning them. Why are you saying no when I believe I am the best, I can do it? So one, no is not a negative word. No is a filter for entrepreneurship to eliminate what is not necessary. So my grandmom also taught me no means new opportunity, next option. So that's why she's my idol. I've never seen her sad. I've never seen her remorseful. I've never seen her crib. So even when I have hard days, I just remember what she taught us and how she lived her life. So she's my idol, Ravi.
Fantastic. Very well said. Garo, you mentioned failure. I mean, there is this US thought of, I think I mentioned this in our BIT conference, fail fast, fail often, and I know Howard says fail intelligently. What are your thoughts on this?
I think in this ecosystem, there's been a big allergy towards failure, and failure is seen as shame. So a lot of people out here, because the ecosystem was very small, and as it grew, there was very few failures. And also because the ability for information sharing was limited, if there was failure, no one could see it, you didn't hear about it, and no one shared it because no one wanted to be shameful about not achieving or doing anything, or not meeting expectations. So failure in this whole region is frowned upon heavily. And that's actually sort of a victim of the region's success, in the fact that this region has always managed to pick up the pace and develop, because it started from a bedrock and fundamental of a structure that allowed success to breed very well in the traditional sense of businesses and economic structures and companies. You have your FMCGs, you have your technology companies, not deep technology companies. And I'm talking about 30, 40 years ago. So when people started understanding about venture capital, entrepreneurship, disruption, as opposed to being a good son or being a good person and getting an engineering job or working with that bank and then building up some money and then deciding to be an entrepreneur once you're already successful, the opportunity arose for people to take a shot at it, right? Because that's what venture capital is. So suddenly you introduce this idea of failure in this region, or failing businesses, startups not working within a year, 2 years, 3 years. And it was shocking because the traditional investor didn't exist here. Silicon Valley built up, from the 50s and 60s with government subsidies. Office of the ruler, His Highness of Dubai, founding Dubai Futures Accelerator, which instigated a spark amongst the community capital that formed people that well today, like Beko and everyone else, that are the front runners of doing all this information and all of this pieces to instigate investment in this ecosystem. People are instigating this new part. So failure is something that is now accepted here to a degree, but not as much as the United States or Europe. It's becoming a place where people are understanding it, but people are also learning from it. Because again, I'll say it again every time, even in failure, this ecosystem is young, but it is unique. So if you apply a failure model of recovery or M&A for a startup or a company here at any size, the exit opportunity to salvage a company, reinvest in a company, reorganize the board or the operations mandate is completely different to how you'd approach it in other ecosystems. So again, investor beware that if you don't have operators as part of your boards or advisors, it's going to be tough for you with a background not to salvage these companies. So it applies for both success and failure.
I agree with you. I mean, I've because of the startups I've done, I've seen, fundraising becomes really, really difficult because most people don't understand failure, or like you said, they frown upon it. You can't apply the Silicon Valley or the European model here. Very different. On to Shom. Shom, what keeps you motivated, and how do you face your challenges?
Yeah, that's a great question. It can go from a philosophical to a much more entrepreneurial mindset. So before I answer the question, let me tell you, because there are a lot of people who are listening and they look at the glam and the glory of entrepreneurship. One of the things which is very important to address, that entrepreneurship today has the most amount of mental health challenges. And I'm a survivor of depression myself, right? So motivation is not easy. No matter how much you try, you get up in the morning, you meditate, you go work out, you read the best books in the world. Internally, we are not developed, or we don't grow up in an environment like Gaurav very beautifully said, where failure is celebrated, right? Where no's are celebrated, where rejection is celebrated. Somehow they get stamped as a part of your capability to do something. And also, this is something, it's not just the UAE ecosystem or the US ecosystem. It's very much there in US as well. If you ask me, US has more bias, having lived there, having built companies there. It's very easy to say, so does India. I think everybody has their share of challenges, but motivation doesn't come easy. So what is very important in life, I've realized, is surround yourself with people that uplift you. Your energy is a very sacred space. Don't give it away so easily. And don't let others, ideologies or others' opinions become a way for you to seek validation. And it's not been an easy journey. Ravi, Gaurav, I'm sharing this, as a young child, when you're growing up in a very high performing, very high caliber, family. And, of course, I'm not going to name my mom's mama as a Nobel laureate. So I'm just giving you an example. So, you grow up in a family where there are very high achievers and you are breaking the path. And everybody's like, what is she doing? Right? And they go ask your parents, and you're the only child in the family. You're like, what is she doing? How is she going to do this? Then you go into a new country where I'm telling you, I have faced racism. I have had people tell me, go back to your country, right? And I went to a very, very good school. So it happens. So there are a lot of things that happen as you're growing up. It's a part of your evolution. You are growing up. What I was when I was 19, I'm not when I'm 38. Things have changed significantly. I have become more aware of how to filter opinions, how to filter negative, emotions, and how to create a circle around me that is very uplifting and fulfilling, including an amazing life partner. We all, as we are growing up, have gone through our share of breakups and heartbreaks and so on and so forth. But to find a fantastic, I'm in a relationship, I'm happily married to a life partner who's so empowered. He's Danish, but he not only accepts me for who I am, he also, tries to bring in his own, cultural, beautiful affluences, which has made me very chill as a person. If you've gone to Denmark or Scandinavia, people are very chill there. They live life as they come, and they don't let money or successes or small things kind of dictate the way they think. I'm giving this answer because it's very easy to say I'm always motivated. It's going to be a lie. It's not. There are days I wake up and I cry, but then I move on and I tell myself it's going to pass. I have come this far. I can get further than this. So that is first part. Second, the challenges is, if you are a founder, you necessarily are not always a great CEO. This is something I'm sharing because even the companies I've invested in, a lot of them in the world fail because the founder forgets to be a great CEO. So the challenge is to be aware when you need to unlearn and learn to adapt to the evolving nature of the company. Like I said, I built and sold companies at a certain scale, right? At a certain medium scale. I've never built a company this big. So founding was one thing. The girl I was in 2018 as a founder is very different than the CEO I am today. So I went back to Harvard to actually learn. I did the OPM program because it's filled with people like Gaurav who have done family businesses, exited companies, very mature, have been there, done that, to unlearn the emotions of a founder and to accept the prudence of a CEO, which means detachment is very important. You're not attached to the outcome. So challenge is to be aware and to keep fixing and evolving and nurturing yourself, and not to forget that while you have the responsibility to build a company, all of that, don't get too attached to the outcome. If you get a great opportunity to exit, exit. 2 years back, I only wanted to go IPO, Ravi. I thought I'll be the first woman to ring the bell on NYSE. That was my dream. Today, I'm no longer attached to the outcome. Today, I'm like, you know what? If I get a fantastic exit, my team members do well, some of them become millionaires, I'll be happy with that. So that is what keeps me motivated, because when I see them who've devoted their time, their life, and my core team has been with me since 6 years, nobody has left. I want them to succeed, and they look up to me for that. So that keeps me motivated, but it's not easy. So that's why I talked about depression, because it's very important to even know your mental health. I have a therapist for the last 10 years, and it's very, very important, just like you have a general doctor to look after your physical well-being, don't compromise on your mental well-being. The other thing is, don't take your health for granted. You know, I took 2 weeks after our wedding. Our honeymoon was at Ananda in Himalayas. I used to take Nexium 20 for 6 years because I suffer from acid reflux. I have been off that medication since I went to Ananda, because bodies sometimes need hacking too. And we take that for granted. And what the Nexium 20's long-term use was doing was, it also is a depression trigger. So I'm sharing this. Is very easy to give, you know, a lot of fluffy stories. The reality, this is the reality. Motivation doesn't come easy. Challenges are also not long-term. Both has its share, and you sail through that. That's what life is. Simple.
So you have to motivate yourself.
Yeah, and surround yourself with great people. You know, I have a fantastic husband. Music keeps me motivated, right? That is my great soul stirrer. I love reading. You know, I'm a Vedic scholar. I speak Sanskrit fluently. So I do a lot of these, where I've started this small Vedic school for young kids, because I'm trying to teach them Vedic mathematics. That keeps me motivated. It's not just your work, family, friends, your ecosystem. The other things that you do as a part of your hobbies is so important, Ravi. We cannot ignore that. So don't glorify entrepreneurship to a level that you let go of the other things that make you human. To me, that is what makes me who I am.
I agree with you. And who's the Nobel laureate in your family?
Amartya Sen. So he's my mom's mama.
I spent a lovely evening with him.
Oh yeah, he's a lovely man. He was also my reason to study economics, by the way. I used to see Amartya Dadu, and I wanted to be like him one day, right? But I think I've become now Shom. I no longer want to be someone else. I want to be me, you know, and whatever little I achieved by being me is my legacy. That's what I have.
Memorable evening. I had a lovely evening with him. Fantastic,
Yes.
Brilliant guy.
Yeah.
Gaurav.
And extremely opinionated. So if you're around Dadu, you need to come armed. You can't bullshit your way through with Dadu. So it's that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No. Garo.
Hello.
Hi. What would you advise? I mean, you've gone through so much. You've done so much. You sit on the boards of team. What do you advise new entrepreneurs? What would your advice be if they're starting off? If they have a concept, they have a plan, they've done their teasers and IM. What would you advise? The 3 things that you would advise them.
Experience comes down to a lot of contribution when it comes to entrepreneurship. And I think experience and passion are sort of intertwined with each other. When you're passionate about something, you genuinely are happy to have experiences, negative and positive, in a space, whatever it may be, whichever industry it may be. And that sparks something in you to drive change, or you see a gap, or you see an opportunity. So it's either enhancing a profession or an industry or a thought process, or you're fixing a problem that exists that's universally and scalably global. And at different stages in your life, you have different amounts of experience. And so, you know, why does the college dropout that's celebrated as a billionaire achieve what they've achieved today? Is it a bit of luck? Can be. But you know, luck is repeated tries and stubbornness as well, to a degree. So those entrepreneurs are successful because they are passionate about a certain subject matter that they didn't want to go to college to do it. They're so, I mean, I have a dear friend of mine who is one of the most celebrated white hats in the world. And he sold his first company before he was 26, self-taught. Now, every 3-letter-digit acronym agency that I don't want to mention on this call is using his technology to fight crime globally, and other aspects of things. Again, I don't want to mention on this call, but because he was passionate about the subject matter and he just went deep into it. So I think entrepreneurs that look at businesses because they are quote unquote sexy or cool are doomed to fail. They might get lucky and win, that is fine. But my advice to entrepreneurs is avoid being skin deep, avoid thinking that you will get rich quick. I would say if you're genuinely passionate and you are a subject matter expert, that is the first step to take. The second step to take as an entrepreneur is being deadly honest about what you know and equally honest about what you don't know. Like someone was saying about being a CEO, unlearning, learning. As an entrepreneur, you have to delegate or you can't scale. So you have to be honest. Am I a person that understands finances, auditing, structures, reports, MIS? Do I understand that? I don't. Be honest. Step away. Let somebody else do that role. Don't be in control all the time of subject matter you don't understand. Advance the business on its product roadmap, its next success, looking after the health of the employees, equity pools, managing investor relations, fine. But know what you know and know what you don't know. You have to be really honest to the core. And the third thing is, if there's a problem, find someone you can trust to talk about immediately. Immediately, if there's a small fire, a big fire, if you can't handle it, talk to somebody that you think can help you do it. That is a trusted source immediately. The more you leave things to linger, the more they will become cancer or gangrene for your business in the short term or long term. It's something that is common for all entrepreneurs. So these are the 3 basic things. Unfortunately, I could talk about it a lot. I don't want to get into it, but these are 3 massive fundamentals that entrepreneurs really have to be careful about being honest with themselves and their capability sets.
Thanks, Gaurav. I think we are running out of time.
Add to something which Gaurav so beautifully said. There was a time I had a chance to do a small project with Dr. Amar Bose, who's the founder of Bose Systems. He's no longer, he's no more there. You know what he had told me, because he was my external idol, right? Because he was a Bengali who went from Calcutta, studied mechanical engineering, and he donated all his money, like almost 90% of his wealth, to MIT Labs. So he said this: a good entrepreneur always hires people who are better than them.
True,
because your legacy is not you. Your legacy is what stays after you. So that is so beautifully said, Gaurav. And most reason people are so attached to, this is mine, I'm so good at it. I know what I'm not good at. So I am surrounding myself with great people with whom I can learn. Otherwise, what's the fun? So that's a very good thing. And it reminded me of him. And so I had to kind of share this with you.
Thank you. I think the last question, would you like to share anything else with the audience? We're going to take some questions after that.
I'm good for now. Happy to take questions, but Shom, of course, please.
No, absolutely. I think we'd be happy to answer questions and share more then.
Do we have any questions, Preeta?
Ravi, I have WhatsApped you some questions.
Oh, okay. Hold on.
Excuse me.
Okay. Question for Shom. Having invested in companies with at least one female partner, what trends are you noticing in how women-led companies approach business challenges compared to their male counterparts?
Again, a question that I'm gonna answer by bringing my grandmom into the picture. Have you ever wondered why the biggest banks or the biggest financial institutions are helmed by women? Women are naturally good with money. And the biggest chefs of the world are men. Men are very good in kitchen, and you have to come home sometime to experience my lawyer husband's cooking, who to me cooks like a Michelin star, absolutely a Michelin star chef, right? So women are generally good with money. And I'll tell you, one of the things that the society has done to women, right? Because of the negation of, oh, you can't do this, you can't, we've naturally become great savers. So we know how to optimize when we're given capital, right? We know how to multiply. And that's also the power of the 2X chromosomes. So the first reason why I say a male partner or a female, a woman partner with as a co-founder or a LP and so on and so forth, if they founded, then they're the GP. It's because then you need the balance, right? You need the man's creativity, the woman's prudence to be able to come together and create something fantastic, right? What I have seen as a success metric is one, balance. There are two men getting together. They're like, oh, okay, brohood, we'll get it done. And then a woman, no, hold on. You haven't thought about it. So that ability to balance, which also our life partners do, I'm sure Gaurav, you would agree, your wives and so does my mom or my grandmom, that balance is very important. That's why you have the Ardhanarishwar. You need two people to make it work. The second thing that I've seen is more accountability, better use of capital. And this is the truth. If you see from a global standpoint, and Ravi, you and I were talking a little bit before we started this session, that even though less than 2% of women get funded, their ventures get funded, 87% of them succeed. Somehow, it's genetically how we are built, is that if we take on something, we want to give it our all and we want to see it succeed. So economically, we are more prudent. And I've seen that in the partners as well who founded or co-founded, whether it's a fund or the company, it's worked magnificently well. But also what also comes in the balance in decision making. And finally, they debate, they deliberate, and then they decide. It's not the, oh, yes, let's do it, right? So that is something that I've seen as a game changer. My initial reason was not that. That also, I want to be honest. My initial reason was to build more equity. But the output of that has been fantastic. I went with the, oh my God, I want to help more women. I want more women to participate. I don't see enough women faces on the other side of the investment table or enough women co-founders, or they have very small equity. But now that has changed. I've seen the real value that comes when people jointly do things together, and the balance and the prudence and the execution and the efficiency that comes out of it. So it's been great success. So if that kind of answers the question.
Okay, I have a follow-up question. As a serial entrepreneur and investor, what drives your passion for launching and growing new ventures, and how do you identify which industries opportunities to pursue?
There's something Gaurav said, and when he was talking about this region, you remember Gaurav talked about his dad being in Unilever, right? The biggest success stories in this world are FMCG companies. It's insatiable need, insatiable. It's like roti, kapra, khana concept. Whatever happens, they never take a hit. And if you see whether it's a P&G or a Unilever, they're all one. P&G is a 183-year-old company. Unilever is a 100-year-old company. Same, all Reckitt's of the world. Now, first thing to me, and why I'm giving this example, I always look an opportunity where I can disrupt or I can innovate, not necessarily invent, is where the need is insatiable. I'm not creating artificial need. I know that people will be consumers, and therefore I can disrupt that. So the first part is the serial entrepreneurial part, which is really an addiction, to be very honest with you. And I'm hoping after Assiduus' exit, I'll stop. But Magnus, my husband, said, you say it, but you can't. So I don't know what I'm going to do next, but it's an addiction. It's a beauty. Like, if you ask people why they have 2 kids or 3 kids, and my husband, they are 4 siblings, my mom-in-law says, it's so beautiful to see your creations. It's beautiful to see your creations. That's the reason. It's an addiction. And why I keep doing it is purely because of that addiction. But in terms of identifying an opportunity, I'm very, very prudent that I'll get into a segment where, one, I don't have to take investors' money to create an opportunity or to create the brand. Second, it should be self-sustainable, client-funded model. Third, there should be insatiable need. So why even the segment that we cater to even in Assiduus is health, personal care, and consumable. And Ravi, Gaurav, you guys know, you go to any marketplace, you buy the product. That's the only one category you can do subscribe and save. So imagine my cost of customer acquisition is one time, and I can do a 6-month subscribe and save. Second, it's non-returnable. You can't return once you buy. It can be 0.1% damaged, and you can, kind of refund that, but you can't return it. It's a non-returnable. you can return fashion, you can return electronics, you can return all other segments. Third thing, whatever happens in an economy, even during the pandemic, which is that one category that just boomed? Health, personal care, and consumable. No matter what happens, it's insatiable need. Plus, the reverse logistics costs are none. So it's a great way. And I'm giving this example because it's real life example of Assiduus. Why we built what we built for a segment. Plus, it's the only one that keeps growing. Like if you see, fashion is one of the top, like it is the number one when it comes to marketplaces. But what is the growth rate versus when you see the FMCG? Just the ready-to-eat segment, just the ready-to-eat category is 47.8 billion with online and offline. And online is 18% share of that. So that gives the math. So always be careful of where you're entering. Also, technology is an enabler. And Gaurav can say that even in fintech, you have a problem with money, you're solving that with financial inclusion, technology, and so on. The problem statement has to be very strong. Don't chase a vision without knowing the real realization behind it. That is today's biggest challenge. That's why you see a lot of unicorns go kaput because it's not sustainable. So that's my 2 cents as a woman and a woman entrepreneur and just as an entrepreneur.
So why the name Assiduus? What does that mean?
So Assiduus, I was looking for a Sanskrit name, to be very honest with you, that means growth with care. The term that came is such a tongue twister, nobody would have been able to get it there. But Assiduus in Latin means perpetual growth with care. That's why Assiduus. And it's spelled in 2 ways. It can be spelled as D-O-U-S or D-U-U-S. Why us? We tell the client, we are your partner. We are next to you, aside us. And also the company is not just me. My team is my co-founder. So us. So that's why Assiduus.
Lovely. Gaurav, there are 2 questions for you, and then we will end the session. As a leader in the fintech industry, what do you see as the next major disruption or innovation in the fintech ecosystem?
Well, it's a tough question. If I had that crystal ball, I'd be way better on other things and investments. Now I'd be putting all my money into bets right now. I put a large part of my pooling into it, but I put way more. But largely speaking, there is a little bit of knowledge that I can impart from the scan that I have of global fintech investments. And that is technology shifts, not only in fintech, but especially in fintech, happen differently from region to region. And one insight that I can give you, particularly with regards to this ecosystem where I sit most of my time, is that the technology shift is a follower of adoption in pattern recognition for where you should invest your money next. Now, this is not investment advice whatsoever. This is my own data, my own understanding, and my own thoughts to me only. So just to clarify. But if you look at where the streams of information happen, payment technology and acquiring was the first layer to be disrupted because of infrastructure and communications capability between software and hardware technology sets. Very quickly after that, the technology sets moved from technology that was being offered by institutions and technology being offered direct to consumers. So what I'm talking about is from payment devices, then moving into things like Tabby, moving into super apps, etc., because technology shifted to mobile. Then the next evolution is in card. So you see a lot of issuing solutions in the fintech space changing, how technology shifts happen behind to make your cards smarter, not just your payment devices or your mobile phone. And the next piece that's happening in this region, where you'll see a lot of announcements coming through, you probably started seeing them already, is in lending. And if you look at the baseline for anything to do with financial capital, the most sustainable fintechs over the next 5 years that will probably see more exits and returns for investors are anything that have to do with sunk capital and account creation for consumers and for businesses, because that core baseline of volume of money will be used to generate other streams of business using data and connectivity. What do I mean by that? Data connecting SME businesses will allow institutions to disrupt that space by merely connecting those businesses, getting that data, and lending to institutions that don't have the capability sets to get funding and lending from traditional players. And traditional players, because of their sizes, are too big to enter into this space. So that is one aspect of technology. Anything to do with consumer lending or to do with business lending will see masses, I'm talking about hundreds of millions of dollars of investment over the next 2-3 years. The next space I'll keep close to my chest about what will happen there, but I'll impart that little tidbit of knowledge about what's happening in this fintech space for this geography. For other markets like the United States, Latin America, and Asia, it is again different about what's happening in terms of technology adoption and disruption that will see meaningful investment for returns for investors. And also, it's very different to how angels have capacity and availability to invest in these companies versus institutions. So unfortunately or fortunately, institutions will always have better access, but industry leaders and subject matter experts will get some access to investment capability in these companies. So that's what I can say for now.
Okay, a last question, then we'll close after that. To you, Gaurav, given your experience working closely with and investing in innovators, what qualities do you look for when deciding to support a new venture?
So I think this is a very easy one for me, and I'm sure 100% Shom will relate to this as well. In summing up everything we've talked about at its core, you can play this entire session back. One word that we haven't used, but is the key cornerstone of everything we've talked about, is integrity.
Yeah.
Integrity and values. If you have a strong capital of integrity and you have core values, you can always succeed. You can always weather the storm up or down, because people will continue to reinvest in you. People will understand that you are transparent and honest. And that is the major quality you look at somebody. Are they willing to first, do they have that quality? And then the second part is, again, what we touched upon is, are they willing to listen? This coachability, right? A word a dear friend of mine uses a lot to try and explain to people the dangers of investing in egotistical founders, Mr. P.K. Gulati, is coachability, right? He uses that word very strongly and very unapologetically. And I have to agree with him. So on one side, it's this integrity and values. And on the other side, it's this coachability or just willingness, right? Forget coachability, perhaps. Willingness to listen and know where they are good or not good at things. And if you do this quickly, you are going to be successful. It is the kind of qualities you look for in founders. And if you can't, I can guarantee failure from the beginning instead of success.
Excellent. Thank you very much. I think we've crossed our timelines. Thank you, Gaurav. Thank you, Shom. Integrity, value, zero ego, willingness to learn. I think that sums up our discussion. Thank you.
Thanks so much,
Thank you
Ravi.
so much.
Thank you, Shom.
Thank you, Ravi. Thank you, Gaurav.
Take care. Thank you.
Bye-bye.